Hello everyone. Today we are going to start the new chapter, that is the fundamental unit of life. See, class 9 students, this is the first chapter of biology. You have already started in your section, definitely. But once again, as a recap of the whole chapter, till whatever topic you have covered, we will just revise it quickly and then we will move forward. As in all the groups, I believe by now the chapter is available. The NCERT book PDF is available. So see, this fundamental unit of life, as you have read in class 8, that cell is the fundamental unit of life. Every organism, every living organism on this earth is made up of cell. Rather we say cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Structural, why? Because all the structure of any living organism is made up of cell. Maybe they are unicellular, made up of just one cell, or made up of many cells, multicellular, but ultimately cell is the unit. And why functional unit? Because a cell in itself is an independent unit. It can undergo all the life processes which are required for survival. Like a cell shows nutrition, a cell shows respiration, a cell shows reproduction. So all these processes or physiological processes which are required for survival can be seen in a cell. Therefore, we are calling cell as a structural and functional unit of life. Now, this chapter, if we begin scientifically, then the branch of biology where we study about cell is cytology. Cytology. Now, we'll see contributions of some cytologists, scientists who have done some good work in this field. To top on the list, the pioneer in this field is Robert Hooke. This person, for the first time in his self-designed microscope, discovered dead cell. Why? He used the material cork, that's from the bark of a tree, and he saw honeycomb-like compartments under his microscope and named it as cell because in Greek this word means compartment. Then second person in this field is Robert Brown. Robert Brown gave us the idea of nucleus. As you know, nucleus is the controlling center of the cell. See children, like we say brain is the controlling center of our body, for a cell also the controlling center is nucleus. Third in number is Anton von Leeuwenhoek. This scientist gave us the idea of a living cell for the first time. Please do not confuse. Robert Hooke gave us the idea of a dead cell because the material which he has selected is the bark of the tree, which is basically a dead matter, dead material. So Anton von Leeuwenhoek, again under his self-designed microscope, discovered for the first time a living cell. That was a bacterial cell. Later on, he also has seen the structure of RBC, sperm cell and etc. Purkinje was the person who gave us the idea of protoplasm. Protoplasm means the living material inside the cell. So if we see the structure of a cell, then you can say the protoplasm which is inside the nucleus, that is within the nuclear membrane, is called nucleoplasm, and the protoplasm which is outside, that is between the nucleus and the cell membrane, is said to be the cytoplasm. So we can say, in other words, nucleoplasm and cytoplasm both are protoplasm. Please remember, protoplasm is the living material inside the cell, the jelly-like material. Rather, if you go by composition, then it is having around 80 to 90% water, some amount of carbohydrate, protein, fat, ions, hormones, etc. Next in the list, Schleiden and Swan. They gave us the idea of cell theory. They proposed this theory. The theory says all living organisms are made up of cell. The theory further says every cell has a living unit inside, that is called protoplasm. The theory further says that as a third point, that any living organism functioning as a whole, because at the basic level the cell is functioning. The molecules inside the cell are dynamic. They are moving constantly, and if a cell is surviving, if a cell is living, then it comes to tissue, then it comes to organ, then it comes to organ system, and ultimately an organism is living. So living unit is basically a cell. Next in the list is Rudolf Virchow. Rudolf Virchow gave us a very strong statement. He told all existing cells are coming from pre-existing cells. See why this statement has come from him? Previously, people used to believe that even a dead material can give rise to a cell. Very silly thing they used to have faith on, like from a shoe, a frog can jump out. Can you imagine? From a shoe, a frog can jump out. It can never be possible unless there is the tadpole inside or the eggs and sperms of the frogs are there. So he gave us the idea that every cell has come from a pre-existing cell. So these were some of the scientists, some of the cytologists who have shown us the way, who have given us an idea that what is cell made up of, which material is there inside the cell, how it is a living unit, protoplasm, and ultimately the cell theory came into being, which says every living organism on this earth is made up of cell. Please remember here, virus is one such organism which is on the borderline of living and non-living. Because it is not made up of cell, we are calling it non-living. It shows one characteristic of living organism, that is it can multiply inside the host body. So you are bound to call it again living. It is on the borderline of living and non-living. It's not exactly living, it's not neither exactly non-living. Further into the chapter, you have understood the difference between unicellular and multicellular. See, if we jot down the important points, then unicellular is made up of only one cell. So only one celled body. Multicellular, many celled body. Unicellular, they do not show any division of labor. This point I'll clarify once again. Multicellular, they have distinct division of labor. Unicellular have simple organization, simple functioning, whereas multicellular have complicated organization and complex functioning. If we go by example, then bacteria, amoeba, paramecium, euglena. Bacteria, amoeba, paramecium, euglena. And here in multicellular you will find mostly all fungi or fungal body, all the plants, all the animals are belonging to the group multicellular. Now coming to that point, division of labor. See, labor means work. Labor means any kind of activity which we do. So division of labor means the work has been divided. The activities have been divided. Like let us see our body. Our body is having not less than 11-12 systems. Digestive system is looking after digestion. Respiration system is looking after respiration. Likewise, your reproductive system, circulatory system, excretory system, endocrine system. So we are basically collection of systems, and these systems do their own job. Thereby an organism is surviving. This distinct division of work you'll find in multicellular organisms, because multicellular organisms are made up of many cells. Many similar cells come together to form tissue. Cells and tissues similar kind come together to form organ. Many organs having similar function come to form organ system. And ultimately, we organisms are collection of organ system. Let us move further. On the basis of whether the nucleus is well defined or not, we can have two types of cells: prokaryotic, eukaryotic. See now the meaning. Pro means primitive, old, and karyon means nucleus. Here eukaryotic, eu means true and karyon means nucleus. So prokaryotic organisms have such kind of cells where the nucleus is primitive, old. The model is old-fashioned. Whereas eukaryotic cells are those cells, those who have true nucleus. If you see example, bacteria and blue-green algae, only these two organisms are representative of this group prokaryotic. In eukaryotic, you have all the fungi, all the plants and all the animals. Now the basic point of difference is well-defined nucleus is absent in them, whereas well-defined nucleus is found. And if you go by the next difference, then cell organelles are absent except a few. For example, ribosomes are found. Here cell organelles are well developed. These 2 points I will once again emphasize. See, prokaryotic are those organisms who have a very old model of cellular structure, whereas eukaryotic are those organisms who have a well developed model of cell structure. How old model and how new model or how advanced model? This prokaryotic cell is having a cell, no doubt. Cell wall is there, cell membrane is there, but a well defined nuclear membrane is absent. Nucleus is not there. Their genetic material is present in the center, but then it's not bounded by or covered by a nuclear membrane. This is the basic difference between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Whereas in a eukaryotic cell, the cell is having a well-defined nuclear membrane. That means the nucleus, a distinct area having a genetic material, is well-defined in them. Fine, so prokaryotic, no well-defined nucleus, whereas in eukaryotic, well-defined nuclear membrane and nucleus is found. Next point to be emphasized and to remember and to write in your copy is cell organelles are almost absent in prokaryotes. Like you have read in class 8, mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell, ribosome, protein factory of the cell, endoplasmic reticulum, skeletal framework of the cell. All these compartments which are there inside the cell is missing, is not found. Rather, few exceptions are there, like ribosomes are found in prokaryotic cell. But then well-defined compartments inside the cell, which we call as cell organelles, are absent. Whereas in eukaryotes, we have well-defined cell organelles, mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell, endoplasmic reticulum, skeletal framework of the cell, Golgi bodies, storehouse of the cell, likewise, so on and so forth. So if you go by that well-defined nucleus and organelles present or not, then we have 2 kinds of cells, prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. So what we have followed, on the basis of number, we have 2 kinds of cell, unicellular cell and multicellular cell. Thereby we call unicellular organisms those organisms who have just one celled body, and multicellular organism, those organisms who have millions of cells in their body, many cells in their body. And if we go by whether they have well-defined nucleus or not, then we have a prokaryotic cell and a eukaryotic cell. Prokaryotic cell are of old model and eukaryotic cell are like well-defined. The cellular structure seems to be complete, seems to have all the cell organelles. Seems not, they are definitely having. Cell organelles are present, nuclear membrane is present, nucleus is well defined, whereas prokaryotic cell is not having all these. Now going further, eukaryotic cell structure. It's having 3 main components. We'll go one by one. Plasma membrane or cell membrane, nucleus, cytoplasm. See, cell membrane, except for fungi, bacteria and plants, because they have cell wall also, in addition to cell membrane, all the other organisms have cell membrane. Rather, all the cells have cell membrane only in fungi, bacteria and plants. They have another one more boundary around the cell membrane, that is cell wall. So, eukaryotic cell typically has plasma membrane or cell membrane, nucleus and cytoplasm. If we see the characteristic feature of cell membrane, it's selectively permeable membrane, maintains individuality of the cell, protects the cell, forms organelles within the cell, and its junctions keep the cell together. To begin with, selectively permeable membrane. See, the word itself is telling you the meaning. Selectively, it selects. Permeable, it permits. So while the entry and exit of molecules or any substance is being done through the membrane is putting a check. It is selecting and then permitting. So selectively permeable membrane. maintains individuality of the cell. Since it provides a boundary to the cell, it provides a area to the cell, so it provides an individuality. That cell knows that okay, this much is my boundary, inside this my components. So it provides an individuality to the cell, it provides a identification to the cell. Again, protects the cell. Why? As you know, the boundary wall anywhere is doing the job of what? Protection. So since it is the outermost membrane for many cells, then it is definitely protective in nature, so it protects the cell. Next, forms organelles within the cell. All the organelles which just now I was telling you, mitochondria, Golgi bodies, endoplasmic reticulum, all that is formed from cell membrane. And the last one, it junctions. Junction is like attaching. Junction is like bringing together. Junction is like putting together. It junctions keep the cell together. That means it no doubt it provides a boundary to a cell, but it also maintains connection. See, there is always an entry and exit through the cell, and there is always transport of material in between the cells. Because cell is a dynamic unit, lot of things are going on in the cell. Cell only is coming to tissue and then organ system, and ultimately an organism surviving. So you can understand what all is going on inside the cell. A cell basically is making an organism survive. Fine. So inside the cell, lot of activities, lot of transport is going on. All these transport is being maintained by the junction, by the connection of the cell membrane with next cell membrane or with the neighboring cell membrane. Fine. So that was about cell membrane or plasma membrane. In some reference book, you will find the word plasma lemma. Again, that's lemma is basically covering. So plasma membrane or cell membrane. Membrane is covering. So it's covering the cell. Please remember, only in case of fungi, plants and bacteria, there is one more boundary around the cell membrane, that is cell wall. We all animals have cell having only one boundary, that is cell membrane. Fine. Next. Okay, the next topic which we will pick up in the next class, that should be transport. How this transport is allowed, what are the mechanisms of transport, how osmosis and diffusion is going on, which helps in transport of material in and out of the cell. Thank you.